Uh, the next thing we're going to do is going to be using the distributive property and combining like terms. So these problems aren't going to have a lot of depth, but they will kind of expose some of the mistakes that we all make, namely subtracting through a parenthesis or multiplying through a parenthesis. A lot of times the minus sign doesn't go to every term, or the number that you're multing out in front doesn't go to every term. So not going to be a lot of depth here. I just want you to kind of see some of these things to kind of point them out. All right. So I'm going to kind of treat this also like order of operation. So in this problem, if we had to do PEMDAS, our parentheses are already simplified. We don't have anything written as an exponent. We don't have any division operators, but we'd really have a bunch of mults and adds and subtracts. So I'm going to mult through where I can mult through, and then I'm going to come back and add or subtract. And I can actually see that most of you are already doing that, so I'll be quiet for 1 second and let you do it, and I'll follow up. So up here, I probably should have just moved forward, but I saw all of you except one person doing it. What I'm going to do is actually mult through first. I'm going to mult this through, come back and add or subtract. Here I should get negative 8x. A minus times a minus is plus. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, typically what you probably would have been taught here, the quickest way to do this is to kind of change the sign here, change the sign here, and then mult through or distribute this negative 6 through here. That's the quickest way to do it, but I still see people making mistakes. If there's multiple terms more than this here, a lot of times this thing may make it to the first or second, but it doesn't make it to the last. So this will probably be the only example that you see me doing where I actually make things longer. What I'm really going to do is mult that through and come back and subtract everything. So I'm going to put a big bracket around all of this. I'm going to put a minus sign here, and inside of this bracket, I'm going to mult through like I did here. This should become 42 minus, that should be 54x. So we've multed everything through, and the last thing we really need to do is subtract this entire parenthesis or bracket. And now in this case, whenever you're doing that, you want to change the sign on the outside, change the signs on the inside, and then erase the parenthesis or bracket like that. So now the last thing we need to do is kind of what we did over here. We're going to combine our like terms, and I usually like to circle them. We start out with the highest ordered term, which means x to the highest power. What power is x here to right now? Now, you won't see it, but there's also an x here. Can you guess what power x might be to? It's actually to the 0. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next class. But for now, we're going to take negative 8x and 54x. We're going to add the constants or the coefficients in front. 54 minus 8 should be what? 46x. And I'm going to mark it out so I know I'm done with it. I'm going to circle what else is left and do the same thing. 2 minus 42 should be 40, but it's going to be negative 40 because 42 is larger and negative. So it should look something like that. And again, when you're done, we're not going to go back and factor this. Okay? We're not setting this equal to 0 and doing stuff with it, but in the next class we will be. For now, that's how we want the answer to look. Cool? Now, is there anybody that did not get that as the answer? There's no shame, but just tell me so we can kind of fix it. So everybody really got that? Okay. Let's do another one then. I'm going to do a problem just like this, but I'm going to add x squareds and x's and stuff like that as well. So it'll look a little bit lengthier, but you'll get the point. Let's go with, and again, these x's are variables. You know, earlier they were mults. So do the same thing you did here, mult through, distribute, and combine your like terms, and I will follow up directly. Let's go ahead and do this one. This one's going to be 4 times 2, 8x times x, x squared, minus 4x times 3 should be 12x. Of course, it's minus 12x. We're going to say subtract all of this, and I'm going to put that in a big bracket. Here we should get 6x squared plus 54x minus 42. Thank you, Lucas. And then I'm going to come back here and subtract this entire bracket. You change the sign on the outside, you change the signs on the inside, and you erase the parenthesis or bracket. Forgive me there. Does that all look right? Did I erase anything? Are we good? Okay. We're going to circle our like terms, and merely add or subtract their coefficients or the constants in front. 8 minus 6 is 2. The term is x squared. We mark it out. We repeat for x to the first power. We're going to add those constants in front. A minus plus a minus is a minus, and 12 and 54 should be 66x. And lastly, I guess I can just take this plus 42 and leave it there. Now again, for now, I know these are all even. You can't just take a 2 out of everything, all right? Once it equals 0, we can do stuff like that. But for now, leave it as it is, and you're pretty much done with that. Cool?